In August of 1962, and the reason I remember it was August because August 14th was my birthday, I was appearing at the Calneva. Frank was my boss, of course, and I was there August and the beginning of September. Well, one particular day, I was sitting in Frank's bungalow, and there were a whole bunch of us there. Uh, Rhonda Fleming and Peter Lawford and Sammy was there and Dean was there. And Jay Sebring, the unfortunate man who was part of the Manson slaughter, was there to cut our hair. He was like the greatest stylist in California. And he would come in periodically to cut Frank's hair and my hair and so on. In fact, I have a picture here of Jay cutting my hair on the veranda in Frank's bungalow. And I'm sitting with some people. In fact, let me show you this shot while I'm thinking of it. Here's a picture of me and Frank and Peter Lawford just kind of relaxing. This is that same period. A limousine pulls up, and stepping out of the limousine was this beautiful, beautiful lady. And she was wearing a green scarf, a green blouse, green slacks, and green shoes. And as I looked, I didn't believe this. It was Marilyn Monroe. She evidently came into town to see Frank, and I think that's the same period that Bobby Kennedy was up there and Sam Giancana and all those people. Anyway, she came to say hello to Frank and some people, and I happened to be there. And I went, oh my goodness, I hate to do this, but I got to do this. I took the little smock off and went up to her and I said, Miss Monroe, I know you don't remember me, but, and I hate that when people do that to me. I said, you don't remember me, but I was the piano player with Benny Goodman when I think you auditioned for the band. And when I was at the Palladium in maybe, I think, 1950 or something like that. And you came up to me because I was the piano player. We were auditioning girl singers. And you sang How Deep is the Ocean. And the only reason you came up to me because I was a piano player. And I remember starting playing piano. And the minute you got on stage while we were rehearsing, there were 18 guys on the bandstand that were looking that just went ballistic. She was so beautiful. And she sang the song, and Benny Goodman looked at her, and I'll never forget this, and said, you're in this, I think you're in the wrong business, okay? You're very beautiful. If I were you, I think you should try another business. And this is when she just, I think the beginning of changing her name to Marilyn Monroe. Well, we had a big laugh about that. And in fact, a friend of mine who was my road manager at the time, Bill Anthony, had a camera and took about 10 pictures of Marilyn and I, which I've treasured. Nobody has seen these pictures. I've had these in my possession since 1962. In fact, they're so authentic that on the back of these pictures, like they usually do, they print a date. This was printed in September of 1962, but it was taken in August. Here's a picture of Marilyn and I, and the gentleman reading the paper is Frank Sinatra. Now I'm going to show you another one, also of Marilyn and I, and Frank now puts down the paper and is aware that there's a picture being taken. And finally, I'm going to show you one of just Marilyn and I hugging each other, which I've blown up, I think, to life size in my studio. This is a very wonderful picture for me. And she came to see Frank's show. Now, I was working in the lounge, and after the show, everybody came into the lounge, and everybody, my goodness, it was Frank and Dean and Rhonda Fleming and Sammy and my ex-wife Danny, and we were all sitting in the booth, and Marilyn walks in, and the place went crazy. And as she walked in, she looked at all these people kind of looking and gawking at her, and she said, "Why are all these people looking at me? Get me out of here." So Frank turns to his bodyguard, Pucci, and said, "Get her out of here." So he gets Marilyn, and then they leave. And from what I understand, that night, she was so frustrated that she tried to commit suicide, which didn't work, by the way, because they found her, they took her to the hospital, and she was okay. The next morning, they brought her back. And I think the next day, she said goodbye to everybody. 3 days later, she was dead. So I literally have the last pictures ever taken of Marilyn Monroe alive. So the stories about the Cal Neva, there's a lot of laughter and a lot of joy and a lot of sadness, obviously. And people have been asking me since 1962, what was my opinion of her death? Well, I know what my opinion is, and I've got to keep that to myself. I have my own ideas. I really don't want to say what it is, but it was a very tragic time.